My name is Rick. And I am a drum brat. I would like to say that I am one of the first drum brats to win this award, but I'm not. I'm not even the first drum brat in my family to win this award, because my dad, Max Rubin, was the third winner of the Morris Hershson Award of Merit, and he was a drum brat. He started working in his father's cooperage business when he was 12 years old. By the age of 14, he was driving that old truck through the streets of Detroit, delivering wooden barrels to bootleggers. In high school, he was driving that same truck that you had to crank by hand to start to Chicago, delivering wooden barrels to the then Trilla Cooperage. As a child, I played in our backyard with a steel drum that had both ends cut out. My sisters and my friends and I had hours of fun with that drum. On weekends, we would go to my dad's reconditioning plant and ride in a steel drum through the conveyors and the lifters. He would usually remember to turn the oven off. Today, this might be considered child endangerment, but we didn't know any better. Like many second and third generation drum brats, my parents wanted something better for me. Like many in the 1950s and 60s, before the environmental movement, before Morris Hershson changed the world's perception of our industry, my parents thought that this was a dirty business. Their fathers were peddlers. They were barrelmen. They wanted me to go to school and become a professional, to have clean hands and to wear a suit. Through my parents' hard work, the drum business gave me that opportunity to not only go to college, but to go to graduate school. It is now affording that opportunity to my children. However, like many drum brats, who at our parents' urging or our own desires, went and tried other careers or earned degrees in other fields, the draw of this industry was too strong. After many years away, after living in Florida and Boston, after achieving a measure of success as an attorney, I found myself back where I began. Perhaps the smell of the caustic soda was too strong. Or perhaps the opportunity to work with my father was too dear. In any event, I joined my father, Max, at Maxi Container in 1992, coming full circle, back to Detroit, back to being an adult drum brat, a barrel man, like my father and his father before him. But times had changed. Thanks to Morris Hershson, to my father, to Vinnie Banana, Mike Murphy, Larry Berline, Nelson Newman, Paul Rankin, and many others too numerous to name, we were no longer a bunch of peddlers. We were no longer barrelmen dealing with other people's waste and garbage. We were no longer engaged in a dirty business. We were environmental stewards. We were in the vanguard of the environmental movement. We were taking the end product of an industrial system, the used container, collecting it, cleaning it, in an environmentally sustainable manner, recertifying it, and putting it back into the market for reuse. As Morris Hershson often said, if the drum reconditioning industry did not exist, someone would have to invent it. His prophecy that the steel drum, and later the plastic drum and the IBC, would become a form of international coinage in a global economy had come to pass. We had a seat at the table. We were part of the process that determined both the U.S. and international rules on the transportation of hazardous materials. We held conventions and symposiums all over the world, and our leaders were well respected by regulators, legislators, customers, and competitors. In this new and complex worldwide regulatory maze, it became even more important to have an effective voice for our industry. A voice that not only could represent us in the halls of Congress, DOT, EPA, or the UN Committee of Experts in Geneva, but could also communicate that information to our company and to our employees. In order to succeed in this new environment, Maxi Container needed to be an active participant in the process. We needed to have access to complex information far beyond our ability to amass ourselves. To do this, we needed to play an active role in R.I.P.A. This also gave us a competitive edge over the old-time barrelmen who refused to recognize this changing dynamic. In that I was lucky. My family had always recognized the strength that came from being part of this trade association. My grandfather, Charles Rubin, was a founding member of NABADA. Many of you knew my father, Max. He was NABADA Central Regional Chairman for 30 years, bylaws chairman for at least that long, and was so active in NABADA that he was the third person to win this prestigious award. With these men as role models, and with mentors and friends like Nelson Newman, Art Wasserman, Larry Burline, Elliot Bank, Dave Wingard, Bill Shockley, and Paul Rankin, all of them Hershson Award winners, it is perhaps inevitable that I would stand before you someday, humbly thanking you for this award. But there is still another aspect of participation in R.I.P.A. that my parents, Max and Aline, knew and experienced: friendships. My parents, with their good friend Nelson and Phyllis Newman, traveled the world together. With conferences in Italy, in England, in Israel, and Japan, their understanding and appreciation for the global nature of our industry was heightened by sharing experiences, knowledge, food, and drink with people in our industry from all over the world. Their issues and problems were just like ours. The world had shrunk a little. Our industry was recognized everywhere. Morris would be proud. My wife Gail and I have also experienced this depth of friendship that R.I.P.A. has fostered. I consider many of you here tonight to be my good friends. I look forward to the board meetings and conventions because I know that there will be a sense of camaraderie, a shared focus, an inside joke to be shared. Yes, the drum brat fraternity runs deep. Many of my R.I.P.A. friends are second, third, or fourth generation drum brats. I am always glad to see them in a meeting or speak with them on the phone. I know that if I need advice, have an issue I need help with, or just want to catch up, I can call you, and you will take the time to speak with me. Your warmth, your willingness to share ideas or a beer, and to give of yourself and your knowledge to the industry make you very special and make me proud to call you my friend. My wife Gail has also made many R.I.P.A. friends and looks forward to our meetings. She has a group of women friends who wake up early and go walking. Sometimes they stop for coffee, sometimes they stop to shop. Some of them are drum brats, and some of them are married to drum brats. But thank you for embracing Gail and making her a part of our industry too. I have to thank my staff at Maxi Container. They have put up with my numerous absences, my inattention due to long and interminable conference calls, and all the time I've put in on numerous R.I.P.A. issues. They understand these issues, fundamentally affect our business and our profitability. They understand this because they're drum brats too. My office manager is the second generation of her family to work at Maxi Container, and her daughter handles our accounts receivables and edits our newsletter, and she's a third generation drum brat. Now I have to thank three people in particular. My three friends who acted as presenters this evening: Mike Murphy, Howard Skolnick, Paul Rankin. Mike, as you know, is the preeminent authority on all things regulatory. He is one of the only people I know with whom I can hold a conversation regarding some obscure regulation. And he will regale me with the backroom stories of the horse trading and the personalities involved in the decision to include it in the book. Now, what can I say about Howard Skolnick and Paul Rankin? they've become two of my best friends. Their friendship and wise counsel have been instrumental in many aspects of my work with R.I.P.A and in my business. When I was R.I.P.A chairman, Paul and I spoke or emailed daily. Paul's dry wit, his knowledge of our industry, more than makes up for his misguided decision to attend Florida State. Howard and I argue endlessly over many nuances of the value-added business model, a concept we both try to ingrain in our daily business practices. His advice, whether about business or restaurant choices in Chicago, has certainly impressed me more than his music selection on a recent drive to Chicago. I must also thank my family, first and foremost, my wife and partner, Gail, who willingly faced the unknown when I decided to leave the practice of law and move from Boston to become a barrelman with my father. For almost 20 years, Gail, my son Joshua, and my daughter Michelle have put up with my frequent absences to go to meetings all over the country and the world. They have put up with my tendency to identify drums in IBCs anywhere I see them, whether at Disney World or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Drum. The last few years, Joshua has also worked for me as a creative director, and his wife Jessie has put up with his frequent trips to Detroit. It was his blueprint, his vision, and his photographic skills that were instrumental in the development of our new website. Yes, there is a fourth-generation drum brat in the Rubin family. Also, I have to thank my family and friends who have traveled so far to be here tonight. Josh and Jessie from Chicago, Val and Chloe from Maine, Marilyn and Angie from Florida, Charlie from Puerto Rico, and Phyllis and Ian from Baltimore. Thank you. Your presence has added so much to this. Finally, I have to thank several people who are not here tonight, but will always be with me in my mind and in my heart. Morris Hershson, for whom this award is named, who took a ragtag association and set us on the road to respect and professionalism. Nelson Newman, who mentored me as if I was a part of his family and not just his good friend's son, whose warmth and wit and whose love of the deal and love of life taught me that there was more to this business than just selling drums. But I would be remiss if I did not thank my mother and father, Max and Rubin. Without their love, without their support, without their shoulders to stand on, I could have not achieved anything in life or in business. All that I am, all I may have achieved, I owe to them, to my family, to my wife, to you, my friends, and to our great industry. From one drum brat to another, thank you.